Hello, and welcome to the Homeschooling and Loving It podcast. I'm your host, Jamie, your friend at homeschool.com and homeschool mom of 6. Join us as we keep it real and chat about the ups and downs of this amazing adventure we call the homeschool life. So grab a cup of your warm favorite and a comfy chair, and let's get started. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Homeschool.com's Homeschooling and Loving It podcast. Today, we are talking with a cool guest. I'm sure you're going to love it on a subject that is pretty important to a lot of us as homeschoolers. But before we jump in, I just wanted to chat a little bit about our busy week. I mean, last week, lots of stuff going on. This week, lots of stuff. And it's important because it's our free virtual Back to Homeschool conference. And we want to encourage you to head over to homeschool.com and register. You'll get a welcome email with a password link to the conference, which you can enter and enjoy 24/7. Lots of workshops, lots of free downloads. Get in on it. You don't want to miss it. In the midst of all this busyness, I still wanted to bring you some good podcast content. And so our guest today is Bruce Goodmansen. He's an author, husband, father of 5 children. He's also very talented and has served as president of Thanks American Press. He also created Fire Up the Soul, LLC, which is a company that produces motivational products, and he's even written a bestseller, which is really cool. And his new book is entitled 100% Success Without College, which serves as an encyclopedia of career training opportunities available to our graduates outside of college. And so we want to go ahead and welcome Bruce. All right, it looks like we have Bruce joining us. Welcome to our podcast today, Bruce.
Well, thank you for having me, Jamie. I appreciate it.
We're so glad you could join us. So you've recently written a book called 100% Success Without College. And I'm curious as to what prompted you to write this book.
Well, Jamie, a few years ago, I worked for a law profession, and it was a bankruptcy law firm. And this young lady walked in, and she was so happy, Jamie. She was just bouncing off the walls because she was going to bankrupt on her $220,000 debt. The problem was, Jamie, was that her $200,000 debt was all student loans. You cannot legally bankrupt on a student loan. It's impossible. Well, it's almost impossible. There are some exceptions, but for the most part, you cannot bankrupt on a student loan. And the sad part, Jamie, was this young lady who spent $220,000 was trained to become a high school guidance counselor. She was trained to be a high school guidance counselor, and yet she didn't even know in all of her training that she can't bankrupt on a student loan. Even more, she realized after we did the math that she couldn't afford to be a high school guidance counselor because her monthly payment for her student loan was going to cost her $2,200. But she was only going to be earning $42,000 as a high school guidance counselor. So I wrote a white paper for our clients regarding the student debt and how it's harming our kids. And then I thought, well, gee, there's got to be other opportunities out there besides college that our kids can get into, and they can succeed wonderfully without a college degree. And lo and behold, in my research, I found all these opportunities. And they were fascinating opportunities, and they were fulfilling opportunities, and they were financially rewarding. So, Jamie, the evidence is undisputable that the college experience today is doing far more harm than good. So I'm going to today destroy the myth, actually the lie, that the college degree is the only or best means to achieve the American dream. And most importantly, I'm going to share with you a powerful solution to the college problem, a solution that will save families thousands in wasted tuitions and from years of a wasted life. So mom and dad, you've got to get real about today's college experience. We can no longer have a hope or a belief in the myth. It's just too destructive. For example, realize that our college tuitions over the years have increased by 1,700%. 1,700%. But here's the point. Has the value of the college degree increased by 1,700%? And understand, college is of no value to over 85% of our nation's workforce. 85% of our nation's workforce will not have a college degree. And yet they're completely ignored by the high school guidance counselors, this vast workforce. So my point of my book is to tell this vast workforce, here are some opportunities that you may not know exist. In fact, let's realize that out of 100 students who are accepted into college, 50 of them are going to drop out. And of the 50 who do remain in college, 30 of them will end up in jobs they would have gotten straight out of high school. Even more, the typical university offers only 75 majors, just 75 careers. But Jamie, there are over 12,000 careers that are offered in this country. Harvard University, for example, only offers its students 58 majors, 58 careers versus 12,000. Out of these two choices, which would you prefer, Jamie?
Whole college experience is definitely something I think you've targeted the right community to talk to about, because homeschoolers, they're right there with you. They see it.
Well, you know, Jamie, what I don't understand is that these wonderful homeschoolers, these moms, they keep their kids out of the public education system because they know the public education system is going to do nothing but damage to their kids. But then they turn around with these kids who are quite brilliant. Matter of fact, the majority of get a score 80 percentile in the upper 80th percentile in all the critical subjects. But then they send them off to college, and where they are basically destroyed as well. So I'm trying to say, look, you got to keep them out of the college experience, because it's not the same as when I went to college, where basically we just taught subjects. But now it's all about propaganda. So I'm basically trying to say is that how does a young man or a young woman fall in love with a career if they don't know that the career exists? And let's do a little exercise here, Jamie. Think of 50 trade school programs such as shipbuilding, nuclear technician, welder, dental hygienist, plumber, cybersecurity, a chef, electrician. Every single one of these trade professions, without question, provides its students a real job skill, a marketable job skill upon graduation. Without question, there's no debate. Every single program provides their students a real job skill upon graduation. Now, let's flip over the coin and look at the college majors. Out of 50 college majors, how many of their students will graduate with a real job skill? Think about it. Maybe 10, at most 15. Let's look at Harvard again. I've got a little small list of some of the majors that are offered at Harvard University. For example, African and African American studies, folklore and mythology, comparative study of religion, East Asian studies, history of art and architecture, social studies, Romance, language and literatures, environmental studies, the classics, women, gender and sexuality. I mean, Jamie, what does a college graduate do career-wise with a degree in folklore and mythology?
I know it is unfathomable in truth.
And mom and dad, you've got to realize, or you've got to get into reality. Your kids are choosing these kinds of major because they are easy and they come out with no job skills. And here's the reality. Here in Arizona, a 1,400 square foot condo in a nice neighborhood will cost a young man or a young woman $400,000. But here's the point. The mortgage payment is going to be $2,800. And if they have a car loan of maybe $200, that's now $3,000 that got to come up with just two payments. And if they have a student debt of $300, well, now they're up to $3,300 or $3,300. That's insane, but that's the reality. And think on this, Jamie. Right now, the United States is home to over 115,000 janitors, 16,000 parking lot attendants, 83,000 bartenders, and 35,000 Uber and taxi drivers. And they all have one thing in common. They all have a college degree. That's just unconscionable for these young men and women to have spent 4 or 5 or 6 years of their life and thousands in tuition to end up in careers that they weren't even trained for. Over the past few decades, there has been a 50% decline in the number of hours a student spends in research and studies. Why? Because the university administrators, they know that if their students are not earning A's and letter grades of A's and B's, and they don't have a moment to enjoy their life through the party atmosphere, these kids are going to be dropping out. Their moms and dads are not going to be happy to pay these ungodly tuitions to have their kids earning C's and B's with really no job skills to show for it. So they have dumbed down the curriculum. And get this, 80% of conservative students believe that they have to self-censor themselves, that they can't speak their minds without fear of retaliation from their peers or from their professors or from the administration itself. There are kids being kicked out for saying things like the wrong pronoun. So basically, I'm saying right now, Jamie, that college nowadays give your kids 4 things. They give them a loss of faith in God. They give them a loss of love for their country. They give them a mountain of debt. And they give them hardly any job skills whatsoever. So I'm telling you, college is the problem. But the solution, Jamie, the solution is to keep your kids out of college, which brings us to the good news. The good news, and the good news starts with a gnarly pretest. So, Jamie, get ready. I'm going to give you and your audience this pretest. You've always got to have a pretest to see where your audience is. And it's going to test your knowledge about the career training programs that are offered outside the college arena. I could ask hundreds of questions like these, Jamie, but I'm only going to ask 8. And just have fun with it. There's no pass or fail, okay? And I'm going to read them off real quickly. Question number 1. What 2-year trade school degree commands a median income of $135,000? 2. What software engineering institution does not require a tuition payment until its graduates have landed a job? 3. Name the foundation that provides high school graduates a grant of $100,000 to skip college. 4, there are 3.5 million jobs with a 92,000 median income that will go unfulfilled in 2022 because there will not be enough trained technicians to fulfill the need. Name the job title for this profession. This profession pays the highest income in the world, yet it often doesn't require a college degree to get hired. What is this profession called? If you want to be a chef, what culinary school has the absolute best placement program on the planet? 7, name the trade school that is considered the Harvard of animation. And finally, with no degree or experience required, what online IT certification program will have a student learn an in-demand job skill in less than 6 months with over 400,000 US job openings And get this, a $52,000 median entry level salary. Entry level salary. Isn't that remarkable, Jamie?
It is, but I didn't know the answer to any of them.
I know. And the problem of it is that you and all of our parents have been trained to focus on the college experience, but not on the experiences that are outside the college world. And that's the shame. That is the big lie. That is the myth I've been talking to you about. Because there are so many success stories that are out there that involve young adults who have chosen not to go the college route, but have gone the route that is outside the college arena. For example, here's a story of a young man who just has a high school college degree. That's it. But he went to a BMW dealership and he applied for the job of washing cars, Jamie. Washing cars, that's it. He was making about $10 an hour. But he was a good worker. And the thing this young man had, what I emphasize to parents, is that he has two jobs or skill sets. One is that he has the command of the fundamental processes of both word and number, that he can speak well and write well and think well. He has those skills.
Right.
And two, that he has the ability to work hard. I mean, outwork his boss. So this young man had those two skill sets. He had the command of the English language and he had the desire to work hard. Well, he was promoted to the tire department. And then he was promoted to another department. And now he's working as a BMW service advisor, earning $80,000 a year with a high school degree. Here's another story. I was talking to a mom and dad with their son, about 18 or 19-year-olds, standing next to them. And he ate and drank and died for baseball. He loved the game, but he wasn't good enough to play the game professionally. But he wanted to be professionally a part of the game. And he was just so angry about life at the time. But I told him, look, son, there's a school, a trade school out in Florida called the Harry Wendelstedt School for Professional Umpires. You can go there and possibly be trained to become a professional umpire. You can still be part of the game. Jamie, this young man just had tears coming down his eyes, but how could he participate in this program if he didn't know that the program exists? This is my point. There are 12,000 occupations which my book, 100% Success Without College, gets into. Here's another story. Here's this young lady. She worked for an exterminator for about a year. Then she decides to get out on her own. So she takes all the knowledge she has for a year. She buys all the equipment she needs. She gets into this marketing. Well, now after 8 or 9 years, she is earning over $700,000 a year. There's this young man that came to our home to fix our ice maker in our refrigerator. Jamie, this kid had no social skills whatsoever. He was so scared to talk. And he looked like he was still in high school. So I asked him, I said, young man, how old are you? He said he's 22. Where did you get your training? He says, from a refrigeration school here in Arizona. How long have you been working? He said, about 14 months. So the big question, young man, how much are you now earning? Jamie, he's earning $72,000. $72,000. That's insane. What a great opportunity for this kid who's basically shy. These are the opportunities out there. I'll tell you one more story. No, two. Here's this young man, a high school dropout. He buys at wholesale a bundle of men's winter underwear, long johns. He takes these long johns up to the Pacific Northwest to sell them to lumberjacks. He sells out. He earns $1,500. He takes that $1,500 back to Washington, D.C., borrows another $1,500 to buy an A&W root beer franchise. Well, then he buys another franchise, and then another. And then after 20 years, out of the blue, he decides to buy a hotel. And then he buys another hotel, and then another. Well, the name of this high school dropout, this Long John salesman, this entrepreneur is John Marriott of the Marriott Hotels. What a wonderful stories that isn't told about in our schools. Moms and dad thinks that these kids that gets found these wonderful, massive empires are basically terribly gifted, but they're not.
Right.
Here's one more story of a young man in my neighborhood, 10 years old. He came up with this brilliant idea as an entrepreneur. He came and knocked on my door and he says, Sir Bruce, I'm willing to take out your trash can every single day or every time, every week, and take it back into your backyard for $1 a week. Wonderful. One less chore for me to do. And it's going to cost me $1 a week. Well, he got about 20 clients. So 20 clients times $1, he's earning $20 a week. That's far better than maybe the allowance his father is giving him. But he's learning a trade. Not a trade, but he's learning how to work hard.
Yeah.
And this is the point of my book, is to basically inspire kids to say, you can do things. And it gives them all these opportunities. My book, 100% Success Without College, is virtually an encyclopedia of career training opportunities that are offered outside the college arena. I get into sales, entrepreneuring, trade schools, apprenticeships. Oh my goodness. Jamie, there are over 26,000 apprenticeship programs out there in the country. And guess what? These apprenticeship school programs provide a great blessing. They pay your son or daughter to learn a skill and to work at the skill for the time it takes to get their certificate. They're getting paid to learn.
My own son did that. He started his apprenticeship when he was 15, and he worked for a Christian man in our neighborhood who had a body shop. And so he did that until he was about 17, and he decided that he didn't really love that for his future, but he loved diesel engines. And so he did go to trade school and he finished studying how to be a diesel mechanic, and that's what he's doing today.
Absolutely. Matter of fact, there's a story I have in my book of a young lady who had straight A's. She had scholarships to all these universities across the nation, Jamie. But she chose to become a diesel mechanic. And why? Because she was going to be earning $80 an hour. This is the point. My book goes into community colleges, not on the college track, but on the trade school track. For example, here in Arizona, Boeing, Cisco, Apple, Intel, they have all created alliances with these community colleges, 10 of them, to train their students the skills that these companies need. And so when these kids finish their certification, they've got a direct beeline to these corporations. But these corporations are turning to community colleges because they can turn on a dime. They can change their curriculums. However, in the university experiences, you've got tenure professors who are too lazy to go and learn something new that will update the curriculum. So we get into boot camps. We even get straight into the workforce or for taking a year off. This is what my book goes into. It's powerful, and Jamie, it reads like a wicked crime novel. It's not a dry textbook. It's really fun. Good. So I encourage your parents to get the solution to this problem. The problem is the college experience is not providing your kids reality. They are killing your kids spiritually. They are killing your kids financially. And the solution is to get into all the other opportunities that are out there. I promise you, they will have a love for life like you want it. They will just get into it so lovingly Because realize right now, we've got 44 million kids right now that have an average student debt of 37,500. And the majority of them do not know how to manage that debt. So get after it. Again, my book is called 100% Success Without College. You can find it at anythingbutcollege.com, anythingbutcollege.com. And I want you to know, Jamie, I love our kids and I pray for them because this is a pretty rough world right now and they need all the help they can get.
Absolutely. I think our homeschool community, especially those of us at homeschool.com, our conversation has been more toward alternatives to college. But I think the piece of the puzzle that we're really missing is where to find those opportunities, where to, like you mentioned, so many solutions to, this child has this gift or this strength and this is what they want to do. Well, what's the
Exactly.
solution for them outside of college? And so I personally appreciate your book in that it gives us some of those solutions and points us in a direction. It's very helpful.
Well, thank you, Jamie. And thank you for this time to meet with your audience, your homeschoolers. Again, I'm so proud of what your moms are doing because they're succeeding. They are not trained teachers. They're not trained. Most of them are not trained.
Right.
And yet they're outperforming the professional teacher who have been trained in universities. The professional teachers, their kids are scoring in the lower 50th percentile in all the critical subjects. But the homeschooling moms, their kids are scoring in the 80th percentile. The big question is why?
I think
Why
it's
is the
heart.
amateur teacher outperforming the professional teacher?
They have the
It's,
heart.
it's, they do. And they have the love and they have the curriculum and they have the values and they have the discipline.
Absolutely. I
Well,
did
thank
want
you,
to,
Jamie.
we
Oh,
kind of mentioned this previously before we recorded, but I wanted to kind of throw out that conversation that we had about specific degrees that do merit college. And even with that, I mentioned that my daughter wanted to be a nurse. There's really no way around it unless you get some type of college certification for that. And I understand and completely agree with what you said is that sending our children to colleges, a lot of them lose their faith. And so, as a Christian family ourselves, we encouraged her to stay home, stay faithful in her local church, and attend a college. So that helped, even though there were still some battles.
absolutely.
It's definitely not something that you just want to throw your child into. You should be supportive and encouraging them in the struggles that they'll have and the attacks against their faith. It is real.
Well, I have even in my book a chapter on if your kid has to go to college, this is what you need to
Good.
watch for.
Good.
It's there. For example, your daughter wanted to become a nurse, and I wholly recommend the nursing profession, except she's got to watch out for her back, Jamie. Back is the number one nursing killer. But her nursing degree can take her into forensics, laboratory, research, CIA, insurance, just pediatrics. It's such a versatile degree. And there are a few of them that are like that. But for the most part,
Right.
they're not. I agree with you.
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate you joining us today. We've learned so much, and I do look forward to reading your book. And I want to encourage our listeners to check it out and to visit anythingbutcollege.com. And again, his book, 100% Success Without College. Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you, Jamie. It's been a pleasure.